And
thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. Okay, so both of our speakers will be sharing their research findings on the impact of artificial lighting and human well-being, as well as the benefits of human-centric lighting and best practices for efficient lighting. And so before I hand over to our speakers, I would like to give a short introduction on GreenRE for the new members of our GreenRE community. So GreenRE stands for Green Real Estate, and we're one of Malaysia's leading green building certification rating. We were set up by REDA back in 2013 to drive sustainability in Malaysia's real estate industry. Compared to Singapore or the European Union or even America, the percentage of buildings that have been certified green in Malaysia, it's still less than 1%. So we're actually in the early stages of the industry and there's so much more room to grow. Hence why it's important for us to have talks like this to engage with speakers from Malaysia, from overseas to drive the industry forward. Our certification is based on Singapore's Green Mark, and we've included our local requirements such as Malaysian standards and building bylaws. And so our tools, it covers from buildings to offices to hospitals, factories. It has a multitude of users and applications. So you can go to our website, www.greenre.org, and download the full set of tools if you would like to go through them. And we also conduct green building training programs and seminars just like this, and also a 3-day course for those who are interested to become a GreenRE consultant, GreenRE facilitator. And so in terms of projects, we have about 200 registered projects in Malaysia, covering more than 150 million square feet. And this includes, as mentioned, all types of buildings and even townships. And so our certification, it's fully supported and recognized by the Malaysian government and local authorities, hence why GreenRE certified projects are eligible for tax incentives by MIDA and MOF. So all of our initiatives, then together with our partners, we're hoping to create a positive impact on the real estate industry in Malaysia. Okay, so I will now quickly introduce both our speakers. First, we have AR, Dr. RatnaKala. She's an engineer, passionate about lighting and well-being and healthy buildings. She's currently attached to the Architectural Network and the University of Malaya, UM. Her PhD research at UPM integrated the architectural and medical teams and developed a groundbreaking architectural lighting design solution for human well-being in the tropics. She has published her discoveries in top-ranked peer-reviewed journals in US and UK, and has presented her works to international lighting companies such as Philips, Zumtobel, and of course, Bartenbach. Next, we have Mr. Wilfried Pohl from Bartenbach, Austria. Mr. Pohl, he's a physicist. He's a director of research and a member of management board of Bartenbach, Austria, which is an international research and development consultant for day and artificial lighting, which is always at the cutting edge of research and renowned for its groundbreaking development and projects. Mr. Pohl deals with the application of oriented research in artificial lighting, day lighting, and building physics, visual perception, and light and health. He's involved in various international planning, R&D projects in these fields as well. He's also a lecturer at different universities. He's produced many different scientific papers, patents, and has participated in International Advisory Board. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to hand over to our first speaker, Dr. Ratna. Again, just remind you that you can post your questions in the chat box and I will read it to you after the presentations. Okay, so over to you, Dr. Ratna.
All right, thank you, Ms. Juanita, for the grand introduction. I'm very humbled Okay, so I would like to share my screen. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
You should be able to do it now.
Yes. Okay, so is everyone having a look at my screen? Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to Mr. Wilfried Pohl. It is so encouraging to see so many registered and joining in this webinar. Our new normal, everyone is going online. Thank you for your time and interest. And before I dive into my presentation, it's going to be a very fast 1 hour session with both Mr. Wilfried Pohl. I would like to thank GreenRE, the entire team, and Mr. Wilfried Pohl from Bartenbach for giving me this opportunity to present my area of expertise on healthy lighting. So if you guys are wondering what is healthy indoor lighting, come, let's explore on what it is and why it matters. So my presentation today is going to be very basic, consisting of 5 parts for this 101 session. It's a holiday weekend in Malaysia, so it's a Friday, and I do not want to put in a lot of technical info to jam pack your holiday mood. So let's start with what is light? Well, light is an electromagnetic radiation. It's a wave with wavelength, frequency, and speed, and it has 7 different colors, each with its own wavelength. And visible light, which is between the spectrum wavelength of 380 nanometers to 780 nanometers, sandwiched between the infrared and the ultraviolet electromagnetic spectrum, is the only visible portion to our human eye. So that is why it is called the visible light, which ranges from 380 to 780 nanometer. So without light, we generally cannot see or differentiate colors. Everything is in darkness. And this reminds me of a quote by a very famous master architect, Lee Khan, one of my favorites. He quoted that even a space intended to be dark should have just enough light from the mysterious opening to tell us how dark it really is. So indeed, light plays a very important role in our lives. So what is the purpose of light? Yes, we all know it supports our vision. It illuminates a space and enables us to see. With light, we can see details clearly and we can appreciate colors. Um, of course, since the days of Edison and Tesla, the goal of indoor lighting was simply to illuminate space in the most economical manner so that we can perform our task with appropriate speed, accuracy, and visual comfort. This made architectural lighting turn into a reliable and required infrastructure in buildings, and it's now like a 24/7, 365 days infrastructure. And it provides general illumination throughout the day, any weather condition, be it rain or shine. We still have our indoor architectural lighting for habitation, work, and safety. So, with designed indoor architectural lighting, yes, we can appreciate a space functionally and aesthetically. So next, we move on to the second purpose of light. We all know that to some extent it influences our mood and emotions because light stimulates our brain. As you can see, examples like brightly lit environments are more alerting to work in. A dim ambience is more relaxing, more cozy to chill out. And we have different lighting ambience that create different experiences, joy for exit or to show us a pathway. And also we have lighting arousing different emotions if we just play this video. So you can see in horror films, they do play a lot with lighting, light and darkness. And yeah, and that's the power of light. Yeah, we feel more secure and safe with light. So that's wonderful, isn't it? And the third purpose of light is that it regulates our circadian rhythm. And this purpose, not many are aware of in Malaysia. So I would like to introduce you this information and create awareness that lighting is important for our biological rhythm. So what is happening here? All right, based on research, light is actually the primary external cue that entrains our circadian rhythm. And then comes other secondary external cues like the time we get up, the time we eat, and social activities. So light plays a strong part in regulating our circadian clock. And there are so many clocks in our body that send signals when we are hungry, when certain enzymes should be released, when we are supposed to be alert. So all these clocks are orchestrated by one master biological clock. And the 24-hour soul natural dark cycle actually synchronizes this master biological clock, which regulates all our daily biological functions. So when our eyes detect the bright natural daylight, it sends signals to our master biological clock that it's time to be awake, alert, and active for work. And when it's dim towards the setting of moonlight and starlight at night, it sends signals to the body to rest and sleep. So that's how lighting affects us, our circadian rhythm. So how is all this happening? Okay, how is it regulating our circadian? It's through our super cool retina. In our retina, there are 3 photoreceptors that does this job silently and efficiently given appropriate light cues. Each receptor are very sensitive to specific wavelength of lights. So generally, the cones have peak sensitivity at 555 nanometer, which is in the yellow-green wavelength range of visible light, forming the basic of photopic vision and color discrimination during light adapted conditions during when there's light. On rods, the second photoreceptor have peak sensitivity about at 507 nanometers wavelength, which enables our scotopic vision in darkness. That's why in darkness we see everything in gray tones. Um, the very interesting novel photoreceptor that was recently identified is the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. It's a lot in the mouth, it's mouthful, so I'll just say as IPRGCS. It's actually the sky blue sensor in our retina with maximal sensitivity to wavelengths between 480 to 490 nanometers. It's the sky blue sensor. And this photoreceptor has a major role in impacting our circadian rhythm. So when the light hits the retina, each photoreceptor absorbs relevant wavelength of light and sends signals to our brain to trigger one visual pathway, visual effects through the visual pathway that connects the cones and rods in the retina with the visual cortex of the brain. It also triggers biological effects through the non-visual pathway that connects all the receptors and particularly the IPRGCS to send signals to the SCN, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, where the master biological clock is, and then it sends signals to the other body parts, like for example the pineal gland, where it regulates some hormones, the release of some hormones. So what's super cool is that these photoreceptors in the retina are coordinating all these neuron signals and transmitting it to the brain efficiently and simultaneously. So it's super cool that all these are being done through God's creation of the retina. So the big question that I would like to ask is, do we have exposure to supporting lighting every day? The problem is we are not aware of the problem. So let's move on to the third part, our current lifestyle issue. We have moved into an indoor generation where we spend at least 80 to 90% of our time indoors.
This is a story about us, the indoor generation. A generation that spends 90% of its life indoors. It all started the day we left nature behind. We filled our homes with lovely things and all the stuff we wanted. Our homes became places we would never want to leave. Artificial light replaced daylight, and we put in little artificial suns everywhere to make the darkness bearable. That's when things started to happen.
So what happened is that urbanites are experiencing light-induced circadian disruption. What is that? Let me explain. Do not fear. All right. Okay. So during the daytime, we have bright daylight outdoors, but we work and live indoors under extended dim illuminance, which is mainly less than 500 lux and with limited blue wavelength light. While at night, it's a dim moonlight situation outdoors, but we live and work indoors with too much of light. And this, according to World Health Organization, they have described this situation, this exact two opposite environmental living conditions we are in, as urbanites are experiencing light-induced circadian disruption. It is defined as circadian desynchronization from an entrained condition due to inappropriate architectural lighting exposures throughout the 24-hour day. We do not have proper light-dark cycles. So we all know our natural light is dynamic. It changes with the time of the day, weather seasons, geographical latitudes. But in reality, we work and live under biological darkness during the day, be it in a workplace with windows or without windows. For example, we are exposed to static indoor lighting conditions throughout the day, 9 to 6, that only supports our visual needs but is relatively dim for our biological functions. If you compare the daytime illuminance levels outdoors versus indoors, you can see in temperate climates, the outdoors are generally having 100,000 lux, while indoors we only have designed a space with 100 lux. In the tropics, our outdoor illuminance levels ranges from 20,000 to 120,000 lux, but indoors, according to our Malaysian standards, we have designed our spaces with 150 to 500 lux, and we are getting less than 1% of light during the day. On the other hand, we are overly exposed to light at night when compared to natural moonlight levels, which is less than 1 lux. So you can see the amount of overexposure and instability of light exposure we are having. So what happens when our circadian rhythm becomes desynchronized? Let's hear it from Dr. Figueiredo, Director of Lighting Research Center from the US.
Lighting characteristics affecting your biological clock is different than those affecting your ability to see. Are bright light during the day and dim light or darkness at night. If you don't get the time-giving signals your body needs, you'll most likely fall asleep and wake up around 15 minutes later every day. Pretty soon, your body's clock will be out of sync with your daily schedule. Also, getting the signals at the wrong times will shift the timing of your natural clock even further. If you've experienced jet lag, you know what this feels like. You had trouble sleeping at the right time. You felt tired during the day. If your biological clock is out of sync with your watch, it's like having jet lag all the time.
Yeah, so there's a lot of jargons there, and let me explain some terms. So what is circadian rhythm? Generally, it's our daily 24-hour cycle of psychophysiological well-being indicators. For example, we have cortisol hormone, melatonin hormone, alertness, body temperature. Under entrained condition where we are active during the day and we sleep at night following our natural light rhythm, yeah, during the morning, our melatonin hormone, which is the sleep hormone, it's supposed to be low, and our alertness and performance are supposed to be high, as expressed in this arrow, this black arrow area. While at night, our melatonin, our sleep hormone, supposed to be high, so we sleep well at night. Under a light-induced circadian disruption condition, this is diagrammatically presented to give you the understanding of how a circadian rhythm goes crazy. All right, it's just graphical, basic graphical uh, presentation. So, and this unhealthy crazy rhythm is, if it's not caused by other external cues, it's caused by unhealthy light dark exposure each day. So, like how Dr. Figueroa has simply put it, that we experience jet lag every time. So that's the reason why even during the day, even after we have had at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep at night, during the day we still feel tired. Then we still need a boost of coffee to keep us awake, and that's not normal. You just need all those external caffeine intakes to boost us up. But if you have proper lighting, it's supposed to do its job naturally. You will feel orientated and alerted during the day. So some of the reasons of continuous light-induced circadian disruption leads to fatigue, mood disorders, and possibilities of aggravating certain cancers, especially in nighttime shift workers. There are research findings that mentions the increased risk of breast cancers and prostate cancers. And if you are having inappropriate lighting exposures, these are things that are aggravating and negatively impacting your well-being and hence your organizational productivity. So what's healthy indoor lighting? It's lighting that can therapeutically support most of our psychophysiological well-being indicators from the three roots simultaneously. According to Boyce, light affects our psychophysiological well-being through three separate yet interrelated roots. The visual system root through the visual pathway, the mood and circadian system routes through the non-visual pathway. Each route has its respective indicators. Of about 20 indicators which are very sensitive to light, 8 that are commonly studied are visual acuity, contrast, and visual comfort for the visual system route, positive and negative effect for the mood route, cognitive performance, subjective alertness, and melatonin rhythm for the circadian system route. So, all these indicators and many more indicators have to be respected with appropriate lighting throughout the day. So we need appropriate light and dark cycles throughout the day. And the very interesting part is we have a lot of factors that needs to be considered during designing healthy indoor lighting. Um, from the past, we know that we only talk about illuminance level and CCT, color temperature, and color rendering index, which all relates to visual responses. But now we have more factors to look into and to decide what is healthy indoor lighting. I do not want to go into this technical bit. It will take more than 20 minutes given. So if you're interested to know more, you can read one of my articles published in the GreenRE Bulletin Issue 3, which is accessible free online. So what's the future trend of healthy indoor lighting? We all know that 90% of business operating costs relates to human. Salary, staff costs, and their benefits. And if their well-being is taken care of, 90% of the business operating cost is a good sign. All right. So WELL Standards was developed. It is the first rating system that focuses on buildings' impact on human health and well-being. And what is highlighted as the future trend of indoor lighting is circadian lighting design. So let us see what is an example of a circadian lighting. A very interesting the example is the human rhythmic protocol. It's developed by researchers from the Netherlands for boosting effect during winter. It was most effective in workplaces with less daylight exposure. So what it has timely exposures to changing illuminance levels and color temperature, responding to the activation and relaxation of the well-being indicators during workdays. So in Netherlands, in winter, they arrive at work in darkness. So what the office lighting does is it gives them this very bright light, alerting color temperature, the bluish color, to give them a boost in the morning, and then the lighting gradually declines in the afternoon for them to for a relaxing and atmosphere during lunch, and then it increases in intensity and in color temperature, make it to counter the post-lunch dip effects, because you have to be efficient at work in the afternoon too, and then it relaxes in the evening and given some bluish tinge of evening boost so that you are alert to drive back home safely. So what the researchers found out that by practicing this kind of circadian lighting, it enhanced the day shift individuals' natural rhythm of alertness and have positively impacted their well-being and productivity during winter. So this is an example, an early example of the development of um, circadian lighting. It comes in different terms. They call it human-centric lighting, they call it biophilic lighting, but it relates to our circadian rhythm. So what about, and also, yeah, researchers are still going on studying what is the appropriate lighting that actually is effective for everyone. But I'm sure there is not one size that fits everyone. You need to custom make according to special requirements. So about the tropics, we do not have, what about the tropics on then circadian lighting? We do not have our data, we do not have our dynamic lighting configuration near studies. So Sithravel and colleagues initiated an experimental study for taking precedence from the human rhythmic protocol and focusing on the morning boost, because we have to start somewhere. And they considered all the architectural lighting factors, both for responding to visual and non-visual responses. They did careful simulation and retrofitting the lighting in the lab, and the results from their study were only two lighting patterns in the increasing lighting patterns were better for the morning boost, and the decreasing lighting pattern was not at all supportive. So they concluded that dynamic lighting, according to their study, two dynamic lighting patterns provided 50% more improvement in individuals' morning well-being and productivity, because it therapeutically supported most of the indicators from the three routes. It improved visual comfort, it improved positive affect, it improved cognitive performance, subjective alertness, and it suppressed melatonin rhythm to a low level. And the research group has found out that when melatonin rhythm, which is a sleep hormone, is low in the morning, it enhances your sleep cycle at night because it will be higher at night. So with that, what was interesting about Sithravel and colleagues' study was that in the tropics, we needed similar or almost higher illuminance levels. We needed an increasing lighting pattern in contrast to the decreasing lighting pattern. And we made things simpler. We used one color temperature, which is the 6,500 K, because tropical environment preferred CCT ranging from 5,000 to 6,500 K. And we used LED lamps, which are energy efficient as compared to fluorescence lamp of the human rhythmic protocol. So this research is still in progress, and we are developing the appropriate dark light pattern for our topics. And with that, I would conclude my presentation with healthier lighting, healthier building, healthier people. Everyone have proper lighting, have proper light and dark cycles in your life. And I thank God for this knowledge that He has blessed us with. And with that, thank you for those who are interested to requesting for consultation or wanting to know more about healthy lighting. Yes, you can drop us emails to projects@archnetwk.com or my personal email. Or you can visit our website. I'm from the Architectural Network, and you can see the projects that we do. So with that, thank you everyone, and I hope lighting plays an important role in your lives too, making you healthy. So yeah, Miss Juanita, I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Ratna. Yes, it was certainly an illuminating talk, pun intended. Okay, so I'll be moving on to our second speaker, Mr. Pohl. Are you ready to share your screen? Mr. Pohl? Okay, I think he must be around. Okay, while waiting for him, perhaps if anyone has any questions for Dr. Ratna, we could.
Sorry, I was lost. Yeah, thank you. Sorry for this.
No problem.
My computer on my system, the connection was broken down. Sorry. Okay. I can give you my screen. Is this okay?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Here. Okay. So I can start?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I will give a few remarks on this topic, which was well described by Dr. Sithravel from a more practical point of view. Yeah, we are a private engineering and research and development office in the Alps in Europe, in Central Europe. This is Tyrol, and we are, how to say, around about 100 people doing lighting applications, lighting design, research and development. We have a big group, lighting design. We make projects all over the world. We do a lot of research, applied research, but also sometimes with medical doctors, basic research. And we have a lighting academy in our house. Yeah. So I think we go to the topic. This is from the founder, a citation that, okay, Dr. Sithravel already explained this. I think that light is one of the key nourishments for mankind. I think this is clear. So the problem is rather how to deal with this. So again, light is, of course, to see. You need it for visual perception, but light is also for our emotion and for attractiveness, etc. And light, of course, is also for our health. So as an example, maybe I only give a few spotlights on different aspects. This is very simple, but at the end, it's not really taken into account in the lighting design usually. This is the contrast sensitivity. You see here the letters will become smaller. This is the so-called acuity, yeah. And somewhere you will receive, you will be at the end of the level where you can see it. And here the contrast is going down. And so let's say here is a border. This is visible here, and this is invisible. So this is the threshold, yeah. And so it's really surprising. If you change the luminance, the brightness, let's say, between the environment here and the infield. We call this infield, where we are focused on, and this is the environment. So if you change the brightness here, you make it brighter here, then it is in the infield, or you make it darker. Then you can measure the so-called a contrast sensitivity. As an example, this is a logarithmic scale. This is the infield. Usually in indoor, you are in this range here. Yeah, let's say from 10 to 100, let's say, here the region. And if the surrounding luminance is, let's say, here in the same range, yeah, here, then you have this area here, yeah, for your contrast sensitivity. And what is surprising, you may make a line here. This is the line where the infield luminance has the same value than the surrounding luminance. And you see, if you look at this mountain here, the contrast sensitivity is 100. This means 1%. Here the contrast sensitivity here is 50. This means sorry, this is 100%. 50 means 2%. This is the reciprocal value of the luminance contrast. If you have here 100, this means you only need 1% luminance contrast between the letter and the background, and you can see it. And the higher this value, the better you can see it. And you see, if you go higher with the surrounding luminance, then it goes down very rapidly, the contrast sensitivity. This means, to come to the point, if you have a special in-field luminance, let's say a paper on the desk with 50 candela per square meters, or with 500 lux, we are more or less at 100 candela per square meters, you should have a surrounding luminance, or say, let's say brightness for the non-technical people, of round about, yeah, between, let's say, 0 up to 100. Yeah? If you go higher with the surrounding brightness, then the contrast sensitivity goes down rapidly. This means here you have stable perception, and if you increase it further, the surrounding luminance, then the perception, this contrast sensitivity goes down. We have modeled this behavior of visual perception in a special mathematical model. We call it in-house stable perception, and this means for this physiological performance parameter, you have to have special luminance or brightness patterns in the field of view to have a stable perception. This is the conclusion. This means in the field of view, this is what you can see with your eyes, you should have balanced brightness distributions and brightness fields to allow a really optimal visual perception. And this is a pure physiological thing. And there are also other physiological performance parameters which are able to be measured, etc. And you should use this as a basic for your lighting design to care for an optimal lighting for visual performance. This is only one example. As an example also for this, we did some studies and collected data with this, with test persons, etc. If you have a stable perception or if you have an unstable perception, this is only symbolically. If you have a window behind, I think everyone has this experience, you cannot see anymore the letters on the screen. So this means, as an example, this is visual performance, and this is processing time, and this is fatigue. So this means in stable, if you turn from stable perception to unstable perception, the visual performance goes down, the processing time increases, and the fatigue increases too. So this is only an example to state that the luminance values, the brightness values in the field of view are very important for your visual perception performance. Another example, yeah, we do a lot of such research. You can measure also other physiological parameters. You can measure heart rate variability and a lot of other parameters. And it's really possible. It's possible to measure the impact of light. So light is always underestimated, but it really impacts our life much more than we are aware of. And you can measure it. But of course, it's science on beings, on human beings. And so it's not so easy to interpret the results. And it's really a very ambitious science, let's say. Yeah, I come to another point. Perception is not only a physiological process like a machine. Perception is also a mental process. And I like to demonstrate this. You see this brightness here, and you see this. So this is dark, of course, and this is bright. Yeah. So, but if you have another look, you see it has the same brightness. Yeah. So it's only perception, because the task of perception is not to give, how to say, physical or technical values. The task of perception is to give information about the environment. So the information is that you have these patterns, and that these parts of the pattern are dark parts and these are bright parts. So of course, this is in the shadow, the bright surface, and this is a dark surface in the light, and at the end they have the same brightness. But this is not important for our perception. It's important to see the structure and to see the information. So we have never to forget that visual perception, it's really perception. It's a mental process. Yeah, okay. Only to raise awareness on these things. And this means I will not explain the pictures because it would need too much time. But I only at the first glance, you see these rooms. And in reality, it's much more impressive than on a photo. You see, these rooms have completely different appearances. Yeah. So it's always the same room, but it's different lightings and different field of views. And you see there are different light colors. Here we have daylight and additional artificial light. Here it's more or less in the dusk. Here it's in the night. And so you can create different, how to say, atmospheres. Yeah. And atmosphere is something emotional. And this is mental, it's a mental process. It's perception. So it's really much more than physics. Yeah, also here, of course, you see the same room with different lightings. Or here, this is the old situation, and this is with these walls, with these light walls, and we could talk about this very long, how to create this atmosphere and what is the reason for this difference, etc. Yeah, here it's an indoor room, and with these sunspots, they are artificial. This is also made by Bartenbach, special developments with, how to say, projectors which make these sun stripes, and it has a psychological, an emotional effect. It's not from a physiological point of view, it's also not from performance, because of course the performance, sun and visual performance maybe sometimes is a contradiction, but these are different things. Yeah, okay, this is also physiological, but also a mental thing here, or emotional thing. This is if you illuminate this with, and you have these cold surfaces with 5000 Kelvin. So at the end, the result from the reflecting light and the material is 5000 Kelvin. Here we have 2800 Kelvin, and of course, yeah, you see the room looks completely different. Yeah, light and materials, of course, we do not see, yeah, light itself. We see the surfaces and the materials. Here it's maybe a silly example, it's very old. But you see, the only thing which is different here is the seeds here. Here they are dark, yeah, the seeds, and here they are white. It's a model, it's a photo of a model, of a scaled model. The only thing here, the only difference is we replaced the dark seeds by the white one, and it's reflecting the light to the structures, etc., and it has a completely different appearance. Yeah, so another point, or maybe the last point for today, is healthy lighting, human-centric lighting. Yeah, okay, I will not lose time with this. You know this human-centric lighting phrase, let's say. So I can go to this slide. Maybe one remark to healthy lighting. I think one of the challenges is to prove the health effects, because engineers and building companies and managers always need numbers and models, mathematical models. They want to know how much better it is healthy light than non-healthy light. But to measure health is a very keen thing, because up to now we are not able to measure health or health impact. We cannot measure how healthy is an apple, or how healthy is a lunch, or whatever. And also it's not so easy to measure how healthy light is. So medical science and biology, and where the human being is in the center, this is a completely different science than how to say physics and techniques. And so this causes a lot of misunderstandings. And the problem, lighting industry always asks us, how can you measure it? How big is the difference? And they want to have a number, and we are not able to deliver, to give such numbers. And so this is a problem always, and it's not easy to really prove all these things. But I think it's clear that light has a big effect on health, and it's also maybe sometimes it's a chronic thing, because it's a long-term effect, health, yeah. And so for me, it's clear that all these things are true, and we have to take care on this. But the problem is, what is the benefit, the economic benefit for a company if the company deals with this matter? Because it's a long-term effect, and it's not so easy to express in euros or in money, etc. And it's not so easy to find out the best way to illuminate a room. Yeah, I thought I have talked too long on this. Yeah, health effects are sometimes acute, but this circadian thing is more or less a chronic thing. So it's a long-term thing, and so this makes it very, how to say, difficult to really prove all these things. Yeah, so, but what does this mean for the practice? Maybe we have to change our approach to to the illumination solutions. Because up to now, horizontal illuminance levels have been in the focus, and for this non-visual effects, the illuminance at the eye is more important. So the illuminance caused by the field of view, by the surroundings, and of course also by the luminaires. But at the moment, the theory is that we have to have a special, how to say, level of daily lighting dose at the eyes. But this daily lighting dose needs, how to say, light more or less in these directions, a vertical illuminance over time. And up to now, engineers have been focused on horizontal illuminances on the desk. So they have to change this attitude, and then they have to change the solutions. With these luminaires, of course, you can illuminate, or you can create horizontal illuminance levels, also without, or also in parallel avoiding glare, etc. But if you want to create vertical illuminance levels at the eye, it's much more difficult, because you cannot radiate with a luminaire direct in the eye, because then you cause a lot of glare and discomfort. So this changes also the concepts. Another idea is, we do a study at the moment, use short wavelengths, let's say simplified blue light, because with blue light it's possible to decrease the luminance levels to avoid glare, at the same time to create the same melanopic effect at the eyes. We are studying this topic at the moment in several studies, and yeah, this means to make, let's say, simplified two luminaires, or in one luminaire two functions. One function is the visual one, to illuminate objects, that you can see the objects, and the other function of the luminaire and the surfaces is to create a high melanopic effect at the eyes. Yeah. Okay, these are some ideas. I want to remark, because we are talking about lighting. Lighting is not only artificial lighting, it's also daylighting. In Bartenbach's philosophy, as an example for office building, you should use artificial lighting only to supplement daylighting. So the starting point should be daylighting. Yeah, but I think it's not so in the focus for this webinar. And I have seen it's also dealing with energy. Of course, you see the lighting energy, it depends on the facade solutions. You can calculate all this energy impacts and savings, etc. It's a very interesting and important field. I only want to remark on this, but it's not on the focus here. You see here, you can calculate the lighting demand, but at the same time here in this silly example, it's a very simplified example, you exchange this lighting demand by a cooling demand. This is an old topic. Okay, only not to forget daylighting. Yeah, we are doing a study at the moment. We have an individualized, personalized table lighting developed in a project Repro-light. You can find it in the internet. Repro-light is a funding project, a very big project, a European funding project. We do a lot of research here. We make light pulses here and a lot of things, and study the impact on the people. Yeah, these are other things. Also with visual perception, you can save energy. As an example, we compared here a homogeneous shop illumination with a zonal shop illumination, shop illumination. Sorry for my bad English. And we did it in a way that the general, how to say, brightness level in the rooms is the same. We did a study with test persons, and then we saw that with zonal illumination strategies, you can save around about 30% of the energy. You create the same brightness and the appearance and the same performance, visual perception performance, and you can do this by spotlights, mixing with a general lighting and saving 30% of energy. We use at the night to avoid melatonin suppression. We apply, how to say, we call it melatonin light in the night with less or with around about 2000 Kelvin. And we did a lot of studies meanwhile, how this appears, how is the acceptance, what do the people prefer, what is with visual perception, because one of the critical points is color discrimination, etc., with these very warm colors. So for the health, from a healthy point of view, this light is much better than a 3000 Kelvin light, but there are other aspects. Yeah, we come now to some project examples. Of course, to how to say, to solve these challenges and to make good light, you need technologies. Some of the technologies Bartenbach developed are, how to say, optical components, free-form components, etc. You can find these components in some luminaires all over the world. Also in outside Europe, in India, in China, somewhere, because they bought these components from us and they are partners, these companies, and they developed or make luminaires out of these optical components. The function of these components is to distribute the light of the LEDs in a very precise way, according to the task. Yeah. This is also one point of the philosophy, that we have to illuminate the objects and to avoid any harming effects for the people. As an example, to avoiding glare, to care for balanced luminance distributions in the field of view, etc. So you need precise optics. I will show at the end a few projects. As an example, this is a hospital. Here in the night, I put this picture here to see it's a very warm light. We go down here to 2200 Kelvin. Yeah, you see it's really very warm, much warmer than usual light in the evening, also than halogen lamps usually. And you see here as an example, this is during the day, this is in the dusk, and you see here also in the dusk, and this is during the day, the different atmosphere here in the hospital. Okay, this is daylight. As an example here, we use special techniques to create sunspots in these stairways here, and it's a psychological effect. It's really, I was there in this building. It's really crazy when you see this. It's in the inside of the building, so you have no relation to the outside and to daylight. But if you see these sunspots and they are moving over the day, and it's really very impressive, and it's an emotional thing to bring the sunlight inside the building. This is Bartenbach's office. We have tunable white here, and yeah, it's a very special solution. We have daylight. It's a very well daylit office, and we have artificial light which is mixed with changing color temperature during the day. We have more than 1000 lux vertical on the eyes during the whole day here. So very high levels here, and it's a living lab. We do some researches. We have some projects running at the moment to study the effects on the working people here. You see these optics here. It's a very well-lit office. In private homes, of course, it's another application. Here, this is during the day with 3000 Kelvin. It's in a private room, so we have a very low color temperature. In the evening, it goes down, and during the night, it's around about 2200 Kelvin. It's a very, how to say, comfortable light to relax and to enjoy. And it's, you have more or less no melatonin suppression, so no disruption of the circadian rhythm here. This is another big project. You can see, yeah, the facade was developed very carefully. It's not only a design, an architectural design. It's also, it has a function, of course, to shade the sun. And so it's calculated in detail together with the architect. You see the entrance hall here. You see, this is not, how to say, a fake here in the photo. It's really, there are different materials. This has, how to say, yeah, architectural reasons. This is, here are the employees, and here it's very vivid here. And here is the entrance area. And to depart this and to give the right impression, when you enter this entrance area, the architect, together with us, created these different materials. Here you can see the working areas. Here are more or less areas where you can go inside. Here it's more or less daylit, and the daylight is redirected into the room here, and the artificial light is integrated here. Yeah, you cannot see it, and continuously changes the color temperature, and you are not aware that artificial light is mixed. You feel like more or less in a daylit space here. Yeah, you can see here the facade. This is another topic. This is well designed in detail to shade the sun when the sun moves here, and to avoid overheating and glare in the rooms. Yeah, so I am at the end, at the moment, not really at the end. Yeah, a few remarks to summarize my notices. Yeah, okay, sorry, I forgot to change this, not to replace. This means if you have a retrofitting project, you shouldn't replace the old technique. You should create new solutions with the LED and the controls and all these new techniques. We have a technique, we can create whatever we want. So really we can create every color temperature, every spectral distribution, every intensity. We do not have energy problems because these systems are so efficient. We do not have these problems. We can use light and create light how we really need and want it. You should focus on the service together with the users, etc., to create really the best solutions. And yeah, you should make light a high value and high cost branch by exploiting the possibilities, the chances we have. Yeah, we can create really a sustainable benefit for the society. We can increase the living quality, but the starting point is the awareness. People are not aware of this, and so if they are not aware of this, they are not ready to spend money for this. Yeah, so if we can increase the value of light in the society, we can make it a valuable thing, a valuable techniques, and then also in the in the value chain, we also can increase, how to say, the economic value and create new business here. Yeah, okay, a little, yeah, a few ideas here. So I think this is the end. Sorry. Thank you for your attention. It was an honor for me to speak to you. And yeah, if you have questions, you are welcome. We could discuss this. If we would have more time, maybe we have another time, another possibility to discuss in more detail some things. Thank you a lot. Okay.
It was, I'm sure that you would have been able to utilize another hour, but for this round, we only have 20 minutes or so. But yes, it's such a huge area of research, of applications, and you don't really see it so much when you buy a building. They don't really talk about the lighting of the building, the benefits of a lighting of this particular room or apartment that you're buying. And it's definitely a plus point that developers and consultants could sell to consumers, you know? Yeah, but like you rightly said, there's a long way to go to create awareness so that consumers know what they're asking for and what they're willing to pay. It's the same issue with green buildings. There's not so much awareness on the benefits of green buildings, and people are not willing to spend money for a green building. We've got few requests for the slides. Pohl and Dr. Ratna, would you be okay to share the slides?
I'm sure this video will be uploaded.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think once the video is uploaded, you can rewind and fast forward and play and view the slides over there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, any questions from the audience? By the way, Mr. Wilfried, thank you for your very interesting, insightful presentation on lighting and how Bartenbach has taken a step forward to incorporate all these features of futuristic lighting into the current development. So thank you so much. And I'm really very excited with Bartenbach's new technologies on the psycho light, which is very human-centric too. So yeah, perhaps another session 102 will be if GreenRE will want to consider.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, I have one question from Ida from Veritas. So her question is, based on your experience for tropical climate condition for naturally ventilated area, what is the best illuminance intensity allowable for occupants? Take example for people eating outside at open restaurant while doing some work using a laptop, i.e. Starbucks that has a al fresco area.
Ida, thank you for your question. Yeah, hi UTM mate. Nice to see you around. Yeah, Ida, this question is very simple, but it actually has a lot of technical points that needs to be considered. It's not just on the best illuminance or the intensity level. It depends on the angle of the light, the timing of the light, the spectrum of the light. So I can't answer the best illuminance level, but generally in the tropics during the day, research has found out that if you have an exposure of at least 750 lux to 1000 lux, that would be a good start. So we need to actually see the details and then measure, like how Mr. Wilfried Pohl has said in his retail outlet, how they reconfigure the lightings in the retail outlet with having same illuminance level, but it reduces in energy consumption. So these are technicalities we really have to work in. And what's the best illuminance intensity for the tropics? During the day between 9 to 11, the best exposure is our natural daylight, which is obviously about more than 120,000 lux on horizontal illuminance measurement. And if you have at least 1000 lux, that would be a good start. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ratna. We have another question from Stephen from the University of Jos, Nigeria. So his question is, what clear-cut explanation can be given as a justification for the tropics requiring an increasing lighting pattern as compared to temperate regions?
Well, there is no, okay, every explanation needs to be justified. I'm not too sure on what is a clear-cut explanation because justification differs. In terms of the findings of Sithravel and colleague from 2018 study, we tested different lighting patterns, the increasing, the regular lighting pattern, and the decreasing pattern, and we found out that the increasing one for during the morning time frame was better for the morning boost. We justified in that manner. So I am not too sure what is your definition of clear-cut explanation, but every angle of tropical lighting needs to be justified to see which is better than the other alternative. Yeah, so Mr. Stephen, I hope that justifies. You can read the paper, is available online with all of its justifications. You can Google it and download and read it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Any other questions?
Again, I guess an issue with in terms of certification, we recommend using daylighting, and that's the first option for energy saving in terms of energy saving, and also the benefits of daylighting. And I guess the balance to find a balance between daylighting and heat induction into a building, that's a whole different topic, I guess. Yeah.
Mr. Wilfried Pohl will definitely agree because there's a lot of simulation needs to be done when you incorporate natural daylighting and architectural or artificial lighting together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I would say the problem is to find technical solutions. From the principle, it's not a problem. Is if you use only as much daylight and only the light, not the heat, and as much daylight as you need, then you have no overheating problem. Because if you create the same amount of light by an artificial lighting system, then you have at the minimum, the same energy input or the same solar load, let's say, energy load. So this is not a difference. The problem is when you use daylight, you have, how to say, changing conditions from the outside, and you have to adapt to this always, and you have to control this, and this is not easy to do. Because you have to avoid overheating, and you have to avoid that, how to say, less light and much energy enters. You have to make it vice versa. You have to exploit the light and to exclude the heat from passing the facade. Yeah. So you have to block the heat and to exploit, to use the light. And this is not easy. This is a problem in practice. But from the principle, it's the best way to exploit the daylight. Even if you need high intensities, because then if you need 2000 lux as an example, in our office, sometimes we have 2000 lux and a little more, but we do not have energy problems. Yeah. And to create 2000 lux levels with artificial light needs some amount of investment, because you have to invest, how to say, twice the systems, then as an example, if you only create 500 lux, if you create 1000 lux, you need double the double amount of luminaires, etc. And so the investment costs are increasing. This is a problem if you want to create high illuminances inside the building by artificial lighting. So if you can use daylight, it's much better, let's say.
Okay, I have another question from Muru from UTM Space, and he says that he finds that some of the slides do show that the color of the room does help improve the lighting and quality of the space. What's your opinion on this in terms of improving work performance in school or at the office?
So sorry, the last sentence you said, I didn't
Okay,
hear.
so what's your opinion on the color of room for improving work performance in school or at the office?
Okay, you mean the color of the surfaces?
Yes.
Or the light color? The color of the surfaces?
I believe it's the color of the room surface.
Yeah, okay. So I cannot give a general recommendations for colors. I only can recommend to use colors. Yeah, not only neutral white or gray surfaces. Yeah, because colors, how to say, have an emotional aspect or effect. Yeah, and so I can only recommend to be keen and use colors, and but I cannot give a general recommendations to use red or blue. It depends really on the mixture, on the room, on the size, on the using, etc. So usually in architecture, from my point of view, I'm not really a designer, I'm more the scientist. The surfaces are more or less without colors, yeah, gray or white or a little dark. But my experience is that we should use more colors in offices and in schools, etc. But this is more a design aspect, an emotional aspect. It's not so from a pure, how to say, scientific or health aspect point of view, this recommendation. Yeah, I don't know if the question is meant for healthy lighting, or is it meant for more atmosphere and for more, how to say, yeah, emotional aspects. Of course, you have to take into account that color rendition and how to say the spectral quality should not suffer, because if you use colors, saturized colors in the room, and they reflect the spectrum, the spectrum will change. If you have a saturized red as an example, the reflected light is pure red. And so this light is not a good light for illuminating your task at the desk. You understand? If you want to read a paper, then you should have white light. So you have to take care about this mixture. Yeah. So this you have to make a balanced design. This is maybe some of the restrictions, but from an atmospheric and emotional point of view, colors are very, very inspiring. Yeah. I don't know if this answer helps. I'm not so sure, but I have no easy answer for this.
Yeah, it sure does, Mr. Wilfried. Muru, hi Muru. I guess you are from UTM. Yeah. So if it's about, if I understand your question, it's a bit general. It's about how to improve the room colors of the room for work performance. Of course, if you go to any Mac office, it's all silverish white. So it gives you that business looking of formal setting that psychologically makes you to be more alert Like you have seen Mr. Wilfried's slide, when they changed the chairs from black to white, there was more light reflected into the space. The whole space looks bigger and well lit compared to the black color seats. So yeah, to improve work performance in school and office, of course, a room color that has more neutral white, a lighter color spectrum, pastel colors or something that is more towards the white will definitely have more light reflected that could improve the performance in school and in office.
Okay. I think he's happy with both of your explanations.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're running out of time, but both of you have supplied your email addresses. So if anyone has further questions, please either contact us or contact the speakers directly. And I'm sure they'll be happy to answer your questions.
I would like to thank again all the participants. Thank you for your time and interest. Thank you, Mr. Wilfried Pohl, all the way from Austria to join us, and GreenRE for this opportunity. The main aim of this webinar was to at least create awareness on the importance of light on health and well-being, which is generally new to a new topic and a new research area. We are in the infancy stage, but definitely we are developing and making the world a better place to live in. Yes, Mr. Wilfried?
Sorry, the last half minute I had no connection. Sorry for that.
Oh, no worries. I was telling we are making the world a better place.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're right. And thank you too. Yeah, it was really an honor for me. And yeah, it's a very interesting topic, and we have to develop this further. And I think it's, as you said, we really make the world a little better. Yeah, a better thing. And lighting is really a very exciting and vivid thing. Yeah, we should work on this further on. Yeah, thanks a lot for this.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend, holiday.
On behalf of GreenRE, I would like to thank both Dr. Ratna and Dr. Wilfried. Thanks for sharing your Friday with us and all the participants too. I know it's in between a public holiday and a nice long weekend. So thank you for joining us, and it's inspiring to know that the topic is well received and people are interested to push sustainability forward. So again, if you have any questions, please contact us, and you'll be able to view the video on our Facebook page. So follow us there, and yes, until we see you again, thank you again to our speakers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Happy weekend.
And please help fill up the survey form too. Yeah. Thank you.